Welcome to You Me Empathy, a safe place for leading with your heart. Hey, thanks for being here. You Me Empathy is the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective, a collaborative mental health community designed to empower each of us to grow our capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and emotional wayfinding. Just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. No one is just a silly boy with a feely heart. You can support the show by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts, following us on social media at Yumi Empathy and Feely Human, and joining the Feely Human Collective community at feelyhuman.co. And now your host, Known Wells.
Hello, Feely Humans. Welcome to another episode of You Me Empathy. My name is Known Wells, and this is episode 179 on anxiety, hustle culture, and your self-care survival kit with my guest, Rebecca Haas. Rebecca and I talk about growing up in a stoic, emotionally repressed household, the shame wrapped up in mental health, why we need to dismantle hustle culture, the moment Rebecca opened up about her own anxiety, and the very exciting new workshop led by Rebecca called Build Your Seasonal Self-Care Survival Kit. It's June 9th, and registrations are open as of today, right now. So check that out at feelyhuman.co and look out for that. I will talk about that more in a second, but this episode was wonderful. It was really wonderful to connect with a new friend in Rebecca, and just enjoyed her chat and her vulnerability and talking about her anxiety and growing up in a wonderfully supportive household, but also a stoic one. And what was that like and all that stuff. We talk about shame in mental health, you know, the feeling that we are bad or wrong or just need to work harder. It's not true. Those things aren't true. And we talk a lot about anxiety and toxic productivity and burnout and giving ourselves enough space to rest and so much more. But before we get into the episode, though, I wanted to just share a couple of things. One being that there is about a week left in May, and for the whole month of May, the Feely Human Collective shop is 50% off. If you go to feelyhuman.co/shop and use the code IAMWORTHY, all caps, IAMWORTHY, you will get 50% off. Use that code at checkout and you can get pins and t-shirts. The only thing that is excluded from the 50% off coupon code is the workshops. And speaking of workshops, again, June 9th is this brand new workshop led by Rebecca. It's called Build Your Seasonal Self-Care Survival Kit. It'll be a 90-minute workshop where we'll explore 9 different types of rests, use that as a framework to brainstorm self-care ideas, then create a menu, not an obligatory checklist, of self-care actions of various sizes and lengths from amuse-bouche to entree, so you can easily select whatever sounds good and fulfills your needs in that moment. Feely Humans, we need self-care more than ever, and I am very, very excited about this new workshop led by Rebecca. I will be there hosting. It's a new Feely Human workshop. It's on June 9th, 2021 at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Again, it's 90 minutes long. It's $15 to join. It'll be done over Zoom. We'll be talking about self-compassion and rest, and there's a bunch of resources and journal prompts and downloadable worksheets. It's very exciting. This is a workshop that Rebecca has done before, and it's very popular, and I'm excited she's bringing it to Feely Human, and we're partnering up on this special project together. Again, go to feelyhuman.co and go to the workshops tab. I'll probably have an announcement there at the top as well. Click on that. And sign up for the Build Your Seasonal Self-Care Survival Kit workshop. It's June 9th, 10 a.m. Mark your calendars. Sign up. I don't think there will be a limit, maybe 30 people, but we'd love to see all of you there, truly. We'd love to see all of you there. Again, it's June 9th, 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's called Build Your Seasonal Self-Care Survival Kit. And So excited. So excited for that. Okay. I think that's it. I guess the last thing is please rate, review this podcast, You, Me, Empathy, in Apple Podcasts. That does help out the show. If you want to support me on an ongoing basis, I have a Patreon page called at patreon.com/feelyhuman. If you want to write for Feely Human, we're looking for new writers. So go to feelyhuman.co/journal for information about that. And sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter is a monthly thing that I send out, and it's wonderful. And that's all I'll say about that. And I guess that's it. Let's get into the episode. Hope you can be there for the Build Your Seasonal Self-Care Survival Kit workshop, June 9th. But until then, enjoy this episode 179 on anxiety, hustle culture, and your self-care survival kit with Rebecca Haas. Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective. On this show, we explore the struggles, the triumphs, the brights and the darks we face as humans, trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of You, Me, Empathy is to talk openly, without judgment, about our mental health, our neuroses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire emotional and cognitive collaboration and insight, so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being Feely humans. You, Me, Empathy is a safe, friendly space designed to inspire the beauty in each of us. Today, I am making the self-compassionate choice to be here with creative coach, overwhelm and burnout foe, piano player and composer, and host of the upcoming Feely Human workshop, Build Your Personal Self-Care Survival Kit. It's Rebecca Haas. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Nona. I'm excited to be here.
I am very excited to have you. That last piece, I'm very excited for you to be leading a workshop. It's a workshop you've done before, the Build Your Personal Self-Care Survival Kit, but you're bringing it to Feely Human, and I'm very excited.
Me too. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, it will be. We're going to talk about that later, but just for the listeners, that's June 9th. So check that out on the website, feelyhuman.co, and sign up. It's going to be fun. So if you need more self-care in your world, which who doesn't? We all need self-care. Check that out. Sign up, register. It's going to be a wonderful time. Okay, Rebecca, emotional check-in time. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling a little tired. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed because I'm moving in a couple of weeks. I'm feeling happy that I just got my second COVID vaccine.
Yay for science.
Yay for science. And I am feeling excited to curl up with my cat on the couch for the rest of the evening. Yeah.
Lovely. I love that. So moving is a particular anxiety and overwhelm for, I think, probably all of us.
Yeah.
How do you feel about moving?
It's stressful. It's overwhelming. My last move was 2,000 miles and this one is 5 miles. So like that adds in a different element that I'm like, oh yeah, I can go back and forth. I don't have to just cast off all my belongings and then give my cat some drugs and hop on a plane, which is what we did last time. And we have a week to move. So we get to be early at the new place. So
That's
I think
helpful.
that's going to help a lot. But it's just that like I'm trying to work and I'm trying to focus on stuff, and I keep looking at different things and I'm like, well, that's going to have to go in a box, and so is that. And I'm like, no, turn that off for now. That is not going in a box today.
Yeah, really the ideal, like the last, and I think it'll probably be our last time we move, because we bought our first house, which I think will be our last, in September of 2018. And that was the last time we moved. And I somehow seemed to make things harder on myself. So this is what I tell myself every year or every time we move. It's like, I'm going to hire people. I'm going to hire professionals to help me. And then when the time comes, I do it all myself. And I even added a complexity the last time, which is, hey, nice neighbors, do you want our fridge? We don't need it anymore. They say yes, great. Then I get roped into setting up their fridge.
Oh boy.
It was a whole thing. But it sounds like you have a little bit of space and flexibility this time, which is great.
Yeah, and we're hiring movers for the first time in my life.
Good for you.
Besides the cross-country move, the first local move of my life.
Yeah.
We were debating it, and it was like, well, we could save the money and like we could make it work. But then like after renting trucks and making a million trips, I was like, we're really going to hate ourselves if we don't. So let's just go ahead and make those plans.
Yeah, I love that. You're giving, like, it is a good self-care move, right? Is you're honoring like your time and energy, and you say, hey, like this costs money, but like it's peace of mind, right? You're hiring professionals to do a thing that they're trained for.
Yeah. I'm already tired thinking about the packing part. So I was like, yeah, we're doing that.
Yeah.
So it'll be good once we're all settled. I'm just transitional right now.
Yeah. Of course. I know that feeling and empathize. So you're moving to Berkeley, right?
Yes.
That's exciting. I love that area.
Yeah, I do too.
What do you like about Berkeley?
I like, particularly Northwest Berkeley, where we're moving. There's a lot of walkable stuff. We're a block from a main street with lots of restaurants, and we're going to be able to walk to all kinds of stuff and just have more space than we had before. So I think it's going to be a win on all fronts. Yes.
So I don't know Berkeley very well. I've been there once. My partner got her undergraduate degree at Cal.
Oh, okay.
Is UC Berkeley near Northwest Berkeley or no?
Yeah, it's kind of central.
Gotcha.
Central, east-ish. I mean, if you really go to the east, you're in the hills. So I guess central is a good way to say it. Yeah. Berkeley's not that big, though, overall.
No.
So it's
it's not that big.
Yeah.
So if you're moving there, you have to have, like, maybe you don't have to, but it feels like if you're moving to Berkeley, it's a choice, right? Like Berkeley is a hippie town. It's political town. It's peace and love town. It's like, do you align with all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm really comfortable with that stuff because I went to school in Ithaca, New York, which is very much that. Like they sell bumper stickers there that say 12 square miles or however many miles surrounded by reality. So nice. I feel at home among the hippies.
Good. Me too. I love a hippie. I don't know much about you, Rebecca. We've had a conversation previously, obviously, like talking about the workshop, but and I know some of the work you do, which is wonderful. You know, it's compassionate self-care, creative coaching work. I know you're a piano player, you're a composer, you're a piano teacher. These are sort of like facts I'm aware of you and your story, but like I want to dig a little deeper. And can you tell? I haven't asked this question in a while, but can you tell me a seminal moment or two from your life? Something that sticks out in your memory that kind of feels momentous, that feels important and powerful. Could be from childhood, could be from young adulthood. Just something that kind of sticks out as a crucial part of your journey, your mental health, and all that. Big questions.
Yeah, big questions. I know which one to pick or which couple to pick. Okay, I'll pick a more positive one and a maybe more negative one, but that led to positive things. So I would say a very influential moment is when I realized I was obsessed with Brazilian music, which is what I specialize in. Even though I play classical music, I play jazz, I play all kinds of stuff, but Brazilian music is really my thing. I am not Brazilian by blood in any way. I feel like my soul is somehow, but I don't have any personal connection other than I just love the music. But I took just like a music class for non-majors that was about Latin America when I was in school, because I was like, I want to fill my college experience with as many non-classical classes as possible, because I just want like the broadest experience. And I was like, I always like Latin American music. And we spent half the class listening to Brazilian music. And this was back when we didn't have downloads for everything yet. So we had to go to the library and like listen to the reserve records or CDs. And I just remember I was supposed to listen to like track 1 on this one and track 8 on the next one. And I would just sit there and like listen to all of it. And I would feel guilty because I had other things to be doing. But I was like, I just want to sit here and listen to this all day. And the more I learned, the more rabbit holes I went down, because it was like, okay, well, I like this person and here's who influenced them. And then it just like branches out from there.
Yeah.
So I was 20 at the time,
okay,
and I've been obsessed with Brazilian music for 18 years now. So
nice.
Yeah.
So I am someone who doesn't know much about Brazilian music. How would you describe it?
Well, saying Brazilian music is overly general. Just like if you said American music, it's like just as big and diverse as a country.
That's fair. Yeah.
But what people know the most is bossa nova. And, you know, Antonio Carlos Jobim, the girl from Ipanema, is really famous.
Yes,
like that's like
that one.
A stereotypical example. And then there's samba, which came before bossa nova and like mixed with American jazz to become bossa nova. And even before that, there's choro, which is like ragtime happened here and choro happened there, with African rhythms mixing with European harmonies. And that's just like one branch. There's also the northeast of Brazil, which has all these drumming traditions, and they're closer to Africa. And a lot of the music sounds closer to the actual origins of that. I'm way oversimplifying everything, but like those are some of the big areas and types, and there's so much. Yeah, I could talk to you the entire podcast about it.
Well, this is the #1 Brazilian music podcast, as you know. So
yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm struck by this because I think there is a beautiful moment in our lives, and it happens throughout our lives, hopefully, numerous times. But this moment where you discover this music that just you said it's in your soul. It feels like this is me. This is everything. And I want to understand like a little bit of like why is that? Why is that, do you think, for you? Like why does this type of music like just sit there in your soul? Like what is it about it that like feels so good?
There's something in particular about the rhythm of samba. If you have like 4/16 notes in a row in most types of music, like they're all straight and they're all equal. But in samba, there's this little like, it's sort of like, people compare it to like an egg rolling down a hill. Like it gets faster and slower and faster and slower. And there's just something about I'm going to say swing. It's different than like the swing of American jazz, but the swing of samba is like, it's like nothing else. Yeah. And I can't totally describe it because it's sort of like you asking like, why do you love your partner or spouse? Like you can tell some facts and some reasons, but it's still like intangible too.
I get that. And I understand that. I am just trying to learn, I guess. And the way you describe the egg rolling down the hill is interesting because is there a like jazz, is there like an unexpected quality to it, like a surprise quality to it?
I'm sure there is in lots of types of music. Yeah.
Sure.
And I guess the
Sure.
surprise is different to each person too.
Yeah.
I appreciate how they use harmony. I feel like Brazilian pop music has a lot more complex harmony than American pop music, as like a gross generalization. And I just really get excited about lush harmonies and interesting stuff like that.
So were you always interested in music?
Yeah, I started taking piano lessons when I was 6, and I was interested before that. My mom tells me that, like, we had a piano at home, and she tells me that she offered the chance to take lessons when I was 5, and I said no. And apparently when I was 6, I said yes. So it was always a part of my life. I come from people who have a good ear. Like, my dad's mom was very talented and taught herself how to play accordion and piano and organ. And she was like the organist at her church and had an excellent ear. So I think that there's some, genetic component to this, but I also don't want to just say talented, because like we have to work hard to develop this and to commit to a creative practice and all that too.
Yeah. But it sounds like
it's always been in my life as long as I can remember.
That's wonderful. I'm enviable, or I'm envious of the piano in the home. That seems so foreign to me. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Did it feel like did you feel very fostered and supported in your music?
You mean by my parents?
Yeah, by your parents, by your peers, anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, my parents have always been super, super supportive of my love of music and my learning, and they still are super proud of me, and it's really special. And, I had good teachers over the years, and it was something that I was kind of known for growing up. So, yeah, it did feel supported. No one's ever asked me that before. That's interesting.
Well, I as someone, I think a lot about parents. I'm not a parent, but I think a lot about the parent and the child dynamic, right? And I was just trying to suss out, I guess, what type of parents you had and what type of really childhood you had, and if you felt supported in your stuff. And I'm grateful to hear that you have proud parents. It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what kind of childhood did you have? Like, how would you describe it? Obviously you're living in a mansion with a grand piano. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. You have a piano at home. Like, what was your day-to-day childhood like?
Well, I grew up in a suburb of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And
yes, that's right. Hence your love of Minnesota.
Yes, exactly. And, it was pretty like wholesome and I don't know, not super interesting as far as it goes. Kind of just walked down the street to elementary school and played outside a lot. And, it was before helicopter parenting. So it was basically like be home by dinner and you would just like hang out with your neighbor friends and stuff.
Miss that.
Yeah, I know. It's very different now. So, that part of it was good. I was a very shy kid, and I think I didn't really fit in at school as much as some people did because I was just very shy, very quiet. I was known as like a gifted smart kid when I was younger. I was accelerated a couple of years in math. And so like I became known for that. And people would be like, aren't you like that really smart kid? And I was like, oh. And I just like didn't know what to say back. And, I got made fun of because of it too. And when you're a little kid, you're tender and you don't know what to do with that. So
yeah,
it's a mixed bag.
It always is, right? Like that is life. Life is a mixed bag.
It is.
Life is messy, right?
It is.
Yeah, I love this little image of little tender-hearted Rebecca who is gifted and still today is gifted, right? And is feeling shy. I relate to the shy piece. Like I was pretty shy growing up. And for me, it was, a lot of like not feeling supported in sort of my abilities and stuff. Where do you think that came from for you, the shyness piece?
Good question. I think it was kind of just personality, because I think it had been like that as long as I could remember. And it's something that I've worked my way out of in gaining life experience and confidence and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's okay. Because shyness a lot of times too, like, perceived shyness is a lot of times just kids being quiet. I certainly was quiet. I was certainly an introvert and very sensitive, right? And that could be perceived as shyness, but
for sure,
really the kid is just quiet, right?
Right. Yeah, I think it was both for me.
Yeah,
because I definitely identify as introvert and sensitive, and I think I was also shy. Like when I got called on in class, I was like,
Oh my gosh, that was my worst nightmare.
Like one-on-one with a teacher, I was okay to talk to them. But in a group, it was scarier. And I guess I still kind of feel that way, but I've gotten over it to a larger extent.
I still feel that way too. It's hard.
It is.
It takes practice. I always, maybe not envied, but I felt maybe a little bit, I don't know if envy's defensive or just like triggered by kids who could just go out there and speak in front of class. And even through college, I was like deeply like insecure about it.
Were you just like, how do you do that? Like, why are you allowed to do that and be so comfortable?
Well, I do wonder about that, right? Because we as seekers, right? We do a lot of, and this, you do a lot of like reflection, right? You look back and you kind of figure out the type of person you were as a kid, and as you go to therapy and you figure out your stuff, you reflect on your experiences. And I was a very quiet kid and shy and very sensitive. And then you see kids who are just like bold and out there, and you're like, oh, I wonder what their parents are like, or
yeah,
maybe it's just they came out of the womb like that. You never know. It's nature and nurture, right?
Right.
Yeah. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have a younger sister who is 5 years younger than me.
Nice. Are you close with her?
We are close. Yeah, and we've gotten closer the older that we've gotten, and actually even closer, I feel, since I've moved away from her, because I feel like we have to be more intentional about staying in touch.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah, and we become more like-minded on political things, and we've become allies in that. So yeah, it's great. My sister's awesome.
That's great. And are you still close with your family, your parents?
Yeah.
Nice.
They're all in Minnesota, so a lot of FaceTiming these days, a lot of Zooming.
Do your parents still work?
No, they don't.
What did they do?
So my dad worked in construction, and he was the sewer and water guy, like the water main break. He was the guy who would go do that in the middle of the night or during the day if it was planned, but sometimes it was an emergency. And he worked for the same company almost his whole life, as baby boomers tend to do, but like my entire life. And my mom stayed home with us, and she is an artist. She's a very wonderful visual artist. She does colored pencil portraits and painting, and she's gotten really into clay in recent years. And so she's done a bit of teaching, like after my sister and I were, out of the house and taken care of and all that. She started teaching like art classes, after school art classes.
That's neat.
Yeah, it is.
That makes sense now. Like, there's a emphasis on art in the house.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. I grew up knowing it was important.
Yeah. So you have this music side, and then you're also this gifted math whiz.
Yeah, to a point. Until I stopped. In high school, I just opted out of 2 years of math because I was like, I'm ahead and I don't care about calculus. So I'm just going to cut it here. I'm going to take photography instead.
Good choices. Those are good choices.
It
Yeah.
was. It was
I love
fine.
that.
I did my prerequisites to not take any general math classes in college and, the AP credit. And so good to go. Yeah. I don't regret that at all.
Math. Math was not easy for me.
No.
I just I don't know if it's just a patience or inability to see formulas or whatever, but it just gave me an immense anxiety. Like anytime I had to do a math problem or figure out a formula or whatever. Yeah,
I think that's really common. Our brains all work in different ways.
They do. And yet, thank you for that empathy, by the way.
Yes, of course.
And yet, as you know, these systems, and the particular system I'm talking to is school, right? They want us to teach us all the same way, right?
Yep.
And I get why that happens, because there's not enough funding, there's not enough money given to schools, and that's another ball of yarn or wax or yarn wax or
Maybe
whatever.
Both. It's messy.
It's very messy. Yeah. Just this yarny wax. That piece of it has been a struggle. I mean, even into college was the school piece. Anyways, so you were raised in a very sort of, empathetic, compassionate, artsy, supportive environment. You feel sensitive. You feel maybe a little bit of an outsider at times. I relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
And how was high school for you?
Actually, before I answer that, it sounds like I was in this very compassionate, open kind of home. It was still like a, stoic Midwestern, don't talk about your feelings very much. There's that side of it too. I don't want to paint it as so easy when it comes to
let's dig into that then, Rebecca. Let's dig into that.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I mean, how was that? First of all, just as a sensitive, maybe quiet person, did that stoicism and not talking about that stuff that probably, or I'm not going to put that in your word, did that feel okay? Did that feel just normal?
Yeah, I think as a kid, you don't really understand what can be different because it's the only experience you've ever had. Yeah. So I don't think until I got older that I even realized that people could talk about their feelings more, or that was normal and helpful to do so. If something was controversial or some situation with a family member that was something you don't talk about, we just didn't talk about it. It just didn't happen. And so I think that as a result, I just didn't have the tools to process my feelings. And I think that I've always had anxiety, even when I was a kid, and I didn't know that was a thing, or I didn't know that there were degrees of it. And if I had known that a lot earlier, I think I could have been more self-compassionate.
Yeah. When you look back as an adult now, you look back on childhood, are there moments where you say, oh my gosh, it's very clear that someone was sort of hiding their feelings or just sort of let's not talk about this big thing or this big scare or whatever? Were there moments that stick out?
Yeah, there were definitely a couple, just family member being sick or having other possibly mental health issues. Again, we didn't talk about it. So it's I don't know. But yeah, there are definitely things I can think back on and be oh yeah, I wish I could be me now and be hey, let's talk about this. I'll listen to you. And, we can share a little bit.
Yeah. So at what point did you start to realize that oh, I need to, or maybe let me rephrase that. At what point did you realize that it was such a stoic sort of hide your feelings environment?
Good question. I think maybe I started to realize it in high school, but probably more so after I went to college and was away and doing my own thing, and I don't know, had some perspective, I guess. I actually maybe think it didn't fully sink in until I was well into my 20s and starting to really struggle with anxiety. And then I needed to be hit over the head with the anxiety before I did anything about it, because I didn't understand that there was something wrong with my brain. I just thought there was something wrong with me, or I wasn't doing something right, or like if I just work harder, or if I just like try to stay cool and not show my anxiety, then it'll be fine. And it doesn't really work.
Well, that is the shame that's often wrapped up in mental health, right?
Yes.
Is this feeling that we're bad or we're wrong, that we just need to work harder, and those are lies we tell ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I like to say I have anxiety, and
Good.
I wasn't that way the first time it got really bad, because I think I still felt a lot of the shame around it, and I didn't understand that that's what was causing me to feel the way I did. But the second time it happened, which was like 4 years ago, then it just like broke it open. I wanted to tell everyone, like, I'm having a really hard time with anxiety. It's a thing. Here it is. And then lots of people would be like, oh, whoa, I had no idea. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of stoic about it. So I understand why you wouldn't have understood that. Or then they would be like, oh yeah, me too. I've taken meds for it for a long time, or whatever it is. And then we could actually share something.
Isn't that interesting? You have this imprinting as a child of like, the norm is to be stoic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, if we don't like take the time and do the work to be curious about that and figure that out, we're just going to continue to imprint that narrative or imprint that sort of like whatever we're learning into our adulthood, right?
Yeah, and reinforce a norm that isn't necessarily a norm.
Yeah. So how does, you have this moment, and then, 4 years ago, you have another sort of pivotal moment in your mental health journey where you have this big sort of anxiety blow up. Like how did it manifest for you, your anxiety? Like, what did it feel like? Did you like do anything that like, obviously people weren't picking up on it, but like, what did you notice?
Yeah. I guess this is the other, when you're asking me about a seminal moment, this is probably the other one.
Sure.
So in 2010, I was turning 27 that year. So like prime quarter life crisis territory. And I was kind of unsatisfied with my day job. I was doing music stuff. I was working as an accompanist. I was doing some things that were, satisfying to me, but I was sort of like, I don't really like how things are going. Maybe I should just move to a different city. And my partner was on board, and, he was like, okay, cool. If you apply to grad school, I'll come with you. I don't have anything tying me here. We'll figure it out. So I decided to apply to grad school for collaborative piano. And I applied to 4 different schools, 3 of which I traveled to audition during the course of 1 month, which is rather stressful to take 3 weekend trips for auditions. And then leading up to it, at this day job, we had been using a new software that we had to start using like before it was fully tested. So there were lots of things wrong with it. And it was like a very public facing, like front desk kind of job, which is not very well suited to me as an introvert. And there's just the like people looking down on you because you're at a desk and all these things. So I was stressed from a couple different angles. And in the spring, as I was waiting for all the letters to come back and let me know if I got into grad school, I just noticed that I was more and more anxious. And it really manifested as me feeling sick all the time. Like I just couldn't eat because I constantly felt like I was going to puke. And I didn't understand that anxiety was causing that. I knew I was stressed, but I wasn't like, oh, this is an anxiety response. And I didn't really totally connect those dots. And I knew that I was having a lot of really negative thoughts and that I was worried most of the time. And after a while, I just thought I was losing my mind. Like I just didn't know what to do. I was basically eating bananas for weeks on end because like I felt sick all the time. And so a friend of mine who also has been through anxiety was like, hey, here's my therapist's name. You should get in touch with her. This might help, because it reached a point where I was like, I'm not okay. This isn't normal. And I went to therapy, and then she put a name to this. It was like, you have anxiety and your thoughts aren't necessarily real. Like, you don't have to listen to all your thoughts. And I was like, what? I thought that it was all true. I thought all the like doomsday stuff my brain was saying was all true. And just the idea that I was able to detach from that, of course, is a long process, and it still is a lifelong process. But that was a huge turning point, because I could be a little kinder to myself, and it validated that I was not just straight up crazy or losing my mind or whatever, term you want to put on it.
Yeah. That is such a powerful moment when we're validated, right?
Yes.
Because I'm wondering, like, for you, did you, prior to that therapist appointment where she said you have anxiety, were you telling yourself that it's anxiety, or were you just telling yourself that it was stress and that you're tired or whatever?
Yeah, I think it was stress, tired, kind of just like, got to get through this. Just got to make it long enough until I know what I'm doing next.
So the word anxiety never came into your mind as being a possibility? I
don't know if it did or not. I don't think it was a major part. It's not the major label that I used. It might have come in, but I didn't understand it like I do now. So that makes sense to me, I guess.
Yeah. So tell me about that moment, you hearing that you have anxiety. I know for me, when I was diagnosed with depression, it was like equal parts overwhelm and relief. How did it feel for you?
Yeah, I think it was both. I mean, it was so validating just to know I had someone to support me and to talk through my feelings, and to know that I could go forward somehow, because what was happening, I was stuck in a pattern that was not good. And I should say, like, I think she said anxiety mixed with depression, because it's like kind of two sides of the same coin, depending on whether the stimuli is high or not. But yeah, and it was definitely a relief, but it was also not a huge relief, because it was so hard for me to function when I was feeling panicky most of the time. But what it did is it forced me to find some tools to deal with it. I wasn't very healthy in my lifestyle at the time. I was eating a lot of sugar, a lot of caffeine. I didn't exercise. So like, since then, I have been a daily walk person, and that is the main way that I manage it now. So when I felt panicky at those times, I would just walk out the door and walk as fast as I could for as long as I needed to, and then just like burn it off. And that's really helped. I
mean, a big part, and tell me about your experience with this, because I think a big part of managing anxiety is, I mean, I have anxiety myself, is awareness, and awareness in terms of how it feels in your body, what your triggers are, all of that stuff, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. And also the awareness that it is something that will end. Like it passes, because when I didn't know what it was like, whoa, I'm feeling panicky. Whoa, I'm feeling sick. And then you get anxious about the anxiety, and it's this whole loop because you're attaching to all the sensations. And so I think the awareness that you don't necessarily have to do that you can be like, all right, my body's doing a thing right now, and I'm going to try not to go along and get sucked in. That's the biggest part of the awareness for me.
I love that. Yeah, it's kind of a reminder that, because we get so caught up in our thoughts and our feelings, and we think they're going to be forever, right? We're like, oh, this is me now. But a trick that I've learned that I talked about recently on an Instagram Live is just to say, in this moment. Like if I'm feeling bad or whatever, I say in this moment,
Yeah.
because I don't know what's going to happen in an hour. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Right. It's not forever.
Yeah. That was actually kind of one of my mantras at that time too. It was like, I am okay in this moment. And then hopefully that would lead to more realizations that like, okay, there are other moments after this, but I don't need to think about all of the moments at once. I only need to deal with this one moment right now.
Yeah. So you get diagnosed with anxiety, or the therapist tells you have anxiety. Do you immediately start telling people you have anxiety?
No, I was just trying to dig out and just trying to function again because I was not very functional. I was doing the basic things that I needed to do for work, but I basically spent all of my time, all my free time, like on the couch trying to relax, which is like maybe not that productive because when you're like, all right, relax, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. Because I mean, there's the us telling part, but there's also our body that's feeling the anxiety and it's all so connected. Yeah. It's tough.
So I think I recovered from the acute anxiety and then it kind of gave way to a lower period. Like once the stimuli was removed, I just felt this sort of like flat depression for a while. And it took a long time for me to feel normal again after that.
What do you think that is?
I think there's probably a lot of reasons. I think that my body had been pushed to the limits from having a stress response constantly, for weeks on end. But even before that, I had been pushing myself so hard and working all the time and feeling guilty about free moments. And it doesn't undo all at once. So I think like the physical parts of it. And I think it's just kind of logical too, that once the stimuli is removed, that you're going to go down in terms of mood. And I've noticed that pattern on a smaller scale since then too.
Yeah.
But I also just think that I mentioned like quarter life crisis before, and I didn't tell you how it turned out. I didn't make it into any of those schools. So it was sort of a deflation, like, oh, this was going to be my ticket to do something different. And now I'm really glad that it didn't work out, because I think focusing only on collaborative piano at the expense of everything else in my life wasn't going to work. Like I consider myself multi-passionate. I like a lot of different things. It was a box that I shouldn't have really crammed myself into, but it was like a defined path. And that's why it was so appealing to me. So
it was also appealing because that's part of the anxiety, right? Like we want to, like, this makes sense. Let's focus on that. Like the other stuff, it just adds to the overwhelm.
Right. Give me some certainty, even though do we ever really have certainty? So I think it took me a while to dig out also just having that lack of purpose, that lack of looking forward to a change that might happen. So I think until I started to have some other positive stuff in my life and like create different new opportunities, it was hard to get out of it too.
It makes sense. I think you're absolutely right. And I want to like use this as an opportunity to just remind the listeners, like anyone who's listening, who has anxiety, who has depression, anything, like it's important to talk to someone. Getting diagnosed, using medication, none of these things are beautiful. They're acts of courage. And to Rebecca's experience, it's very validating. And it's also going to take work, right? Because as you put it so beautifully, and as you lived, you built up this scaffolding, you built up this system that like is not going to work anymore, right? So you have to tear it all down, and that is overwhelming. That is scary. That is going to be a lull until you start figuring out your tools again, right?
Yes. Yeah. And then, I started to recover, and I was like, okay, cool. Spring of the next year, I'm feeling feeling like I'm waking up again. I started to feel like I was returning to kind of the state that I was in before. And then that summer, my dad had a stroke and was in the hospital or rehab for the entire summer. So it was like this whole new stress and trauma bringing me back down again. So I was grateful in a way that I had the experience of the anxiety before, so I wasn't just blindsided by the trauma and the anxiety all at once.
Yeah. How's your dad doing now?
He's good. He very well might have died if my mom hadn't called him on the phone in the backyard. My parents have a pretty big yard. It's like a half acre, and my dad's always gardening. That's his thing. And so he was like at the back of the backyard, and it was June. So he would have been out till dark, take the dog for a walk, come in at 10 p.m. And my mom wouldn't have noticed if he hadn't been back. And she wanted him to do something. And she was just like lazy and called him on the phone and said, "Hey, can you do this thing when you come in?" And he sounded all slurred. And he said he was dropping things and that he felt really weird. And she was like, "Hang on, like you need to come inside." And I think the timing of that actually saved his life. So it could have gone very differently. It was still very severe, but he was able to talk, which is something that a lot of people lose or have to like regain in a stroke. And it was a part of the brain that affects like his spatial reasoning and his sense of time. And he basically had to relearn to swallow and to walk again, which is like,
wow,
huge. Yeah. Yeah. I never knew this, that if your left side of your body's not working, the left side of your throat's not working. So like you can't swallow properly because half your throat's not working.
That's wild.
Yeah. So a speech therapist taught him how to swallow again. And then he learned how to walk again. And he has a limp still, and he actually needs a new hip now because he has, you know, a lopsided way of walking. But like considering, he's doing really, really well.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did like you experiencing that, you know, shortly after your own sort of come to terms with, you know, something that was scary? How did that make you feel when that happened to your dad?
It was so scary. I mean, anyone would say that probably, but it shakes you when you almost lose a parent. And I'm sure when you lose a parent, but like, I can't speak to completely losing a parent, but I know that I lost the old version of him because he's different now, and he's still my dad and he's still himself. But like, I had to come to terms with him being a person that I needed to take care of. Like he couldn't be alone for probably the first year or so, or we didn't really feel good about it. So, yeah, you know, I was the like Thursday caretaker or whatever. And I would go over and basically just follow him around the garden as he wandered around, because he would get distracted and he would want to like do chores and stuff. And he wouldn't really get anything done, but he'd just kind of wander around and we'd talk. And it was nice because I got to spend that time with him in a more low-key way, and it just got to be whatever it was. So yeah, it's really scary to lose that figure of strength and lose the idea of someone who can protect you and someone who can, you know, whatever you've wrapped up in the idea of a parent. But then again, it was filled with gratitude because yes, he was alive. Yes, he recognized us. Yes, he could talk, you know, all this stuff. And his life has been so enriched by this stroke survivor support group that he's been a part of at a hospital near my parents' house. And they have a walk every year that is like a fundraiser and is this huge event. And we get lots of people in my family to go. And he hasn't been able to go in person, of course, because of COVID, but like multiple times a week, he would spend basically the whole day at various support group things like the camera club and the garden club and the whatever clubs. So he has really made the best of it in a pretty inspiring way. He's very determined.
Yeah, sounds like it. I thank you for sharing that. you spoke about something that is important, which is the moments in our lives where the people in our lives change, right? And it happens when, well, we all change, right? And that's hard for some people. And then things like this happen, a physical illness or an injury or mental illness, like these things can, like, I think, like when you were talking about that, I thought about my brother and his schizophrenia, and right, and like how he is a different person now, and that there's a grief in that, right? There's a loss in that, and so I wanted to honor that for you, because it is like, you can of course like hold the beauty of the fact that he's here, he's living, he's determined, and it's inspiring, and also there's grief.
Yeah, thank you, and I want to honor that for you too. I didn't understand that grief wasn't just when somebody died. I think that was like me beginning to really understand the complexity of grief.
Sure.
And I remember watching some movie where like a dad died at the end, and I thought I was okay to watch it, but I just lost it. And I cried for like a solid half hour after that. And it was like, whoa, okay, dad stuff. Got it. Sometimes it comes out when you don't realize it.
Yeah. Sometimes we need, I mean, it's why Roger Ebert said movies are empathy machines.
Yes.
Right? They reflect back.
Yeah. I think it's so important to honor the many types of grief, because so often only the hopeful story gets told. Or I hear lots of stories from people who are maybe diagnosed with cancer or some kind of major illness, and the people in their lives always want to put a positive spin on it and be like, well, at least blah, 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 or you're going to beat this and it's a battle and you're going to fight it. But they don't allow in the parts that are like, wow, this really sucks. This is some really hard shit,
Yeah, it's called bypassing, and any amount of bypassing is problematic, because we're not taking in the whole of the experience. We're not dealing with the, what do we call it? Messy something earlier. I don't remember.
I don't know.
But
messy.
We're not taking in the whole picture, right? Let's get back to your story. You, a therapist tells you have anxiety about 4 years ago. You start sort of your, wayward healing journey, you're with ups and downs and building of the new scaffolding and all that. At what point do you start, sort of incorporating, the stuff that you're doing today, like the stuff that like really truly help your anxiety and, stuff.
Well, it actually first happened 11 years ago that I was told I had anxiety, but it happened again 4 years ago. And I think that is actually the answer to your question. That is when I had to rebuild the scaffolding again in a new way.
So that's interesting, Rebecca, because how did so you went through a period of time where you were told you had anxiety, and then were you in it's so telling, right? Like that's such a human thing to go through. Like people reflect truths toward us. They see something in us that we don't see.
Yeah.
And maybe we're not even capable of seeing, right? Happens all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, good thing to bring up for sure.
Yeah. So in 2016, there was some stressful stuff going on in my family. And collectively, we were going through an election that was, let's just say, terrible. I'm going to not name he who shall not be named, but it was a stressful year.
We won't, but I will say, and I have on this podcast, that this podcast is not for that person, Voldemort, or he who must not be named, right?
Yeah.
So, to be clear. Okay.
Yes. not. So I think both those things were just building up a lot of stress over that year for me. I just threw myself completely into music and composing a lot and like doing some cool things. But I know that I needed to slow down and like process that stress and, I don't know, rest a little bit. And I think it's such a common story that even if we realize that we need to rest more, that we don't necessarily give ourselves enough space to rest as much as we actually need to recover. So I didn't do that. And throughout the spring of 2017, I remember feeling in like March or so that I was drinking a lot of kava stress relief tea, which is like my go-to for anxiety. And I noticed that I was doing it more and more. And I was thinking, okay, I just got to make it to spring break, because I was teaching 30 piano students at that time, which was way too many for my comfort level as an introvert and just for trying to do as many things as I was doing. And so I was doing that. And as someone who works as an accompanist, I get asked to do a lot of recitals for other teacher friends throughout the spring. That's like recital season. So it's like, okay, got to make it to spring break, then I'll feel better. And I took a trip here actually to the Bay Area to see Hermeto Pascoal, who is one of my favorite Brazilian musicians, in concert, because it was during my spring break and I had people to stay with here. So I was like, yes, I'm going to do that. But I had pretty terrible anxiety while I was here and like didn't sleep very well. And then after the break, went straight back into it. And I think I had a stretch of like 40 days without a day off, something really stupid that I won't let happen anymore. But then it was like, okay, so I'll feel better when summer comes along, because all these recitals will be over and my teaching schedule will get lighter. Then it'll definitely be better. It did not get better. It got worse. And it just kept getting worse. And I was thinking, wow, okay, all the things I'm trying to do and all the things that I had been doing are just really not even making a dent in this. I need to do something different. So I called up my therapist again, because I hadn't been going for a few years. And that was a good step. And I also noticed that I had been a vegetarian for, I think, like 14 years at that point. And I had reintroduced fish, but I noticed that I just didn't feel that great when I was eating, you know, what on paper was a pretty healthy meal of like beans and quinoa and vegetables and avocado and whatever. And I would just not feel good at all. And so I was like, okay, well, fish and eggs, like if these are the only things that really make me feel good, I don't think that I can be a vegetarian anymore. So I saw a nutritionist and started to revamp my diet. She helped me reintroduce meat, which has been a really good change for me. As much as I support vegetarianism, it just wasn't working for my body anymore. And I started meditating, which is something that I had done off and on over the years, but I really felt that I needed it. Like I needed to put on a guided meditation just to be okay a lot of the time. And
what do you mean by that?
Well, when I was feeling really panicky, it was like I needed a voice in my ear that sounded comforting and something to focus on. Mm-hmm. I had been against guided meditations, actually. I had been like, they're cheesy and, you know, this isn't for me. I just do silent meditation. But I totally changed my tune on it. I really enjoy that. And I discovered Dr. Kristin Neff, who studies self-compassion, who you might be familiar with.
Yeah.
And she has these great meditations for self-compassion. There's like a 5-minute one and various lengths up to 30 minutes or something. So I would just listen to those, sometimes on repeat. And that really helped a lot. I also was forced to kind of reimagine what I was doing, and the fact that I didn't really have much of a spiritual practice in my life. And that's something that came out of that period too. And I don't know what my spiritual practice is now necessarily, but I explore a lot more different kinds of things like tarot and astrology and lots of different stuff that I'm more open to than I was before that. So I basically was just trying all the tools throughout that summer, and I just was not getting better. And my therapist was like, I know you are against meds. I know you're not particularly open to this, but have you considered it again? You just might want to try it, because like your life is hard managing anxiety all the time. it doesn't need to be this hard. It might help you. And since it had been months on end with me not really feeling better, it's like, okay, I'll try it. Let's go. And it was really awful for the first 2 weeks or so, because for whatever reason, a symptom of this medication is anxiety, which I'm like, what? Anxiety with anxiety. Cool. But once I got
That's
through,
helpful.
I know, right? Once I got through the first couple weeks of one night, no sleep at all. And then the next night I'd be tired enough to sleep. And then the next night I wouldn't sleep at all. So I was just kind of this weird zombie for a couple of weeks. But once I started to acclimate, it really started to, I forgot the phrase that I had used before, but basically there was space to hear my thoughts again. There's space in my head. And that's how I knew that it was starting to work. And that's been a really good choice for me. And I'm guessing the listeners of your show don't expect people coming on and prescribing a certain thing, but I just want to say that I share that because I was really against it and it really ended up helping me. And maybe that's someone else's story. Maybe that's not what they need, but I like to talk about it because I want to normalize that it's a helpful tool.
It is indeed. And I think what works for some person doesn't work for another person, right? I think what's interesting about this is one thing, which is there's so much in our space, in our world, where we tell ourselves, that's not for me. And we tell ourselves that because of so many things, because of the narrative, because of culture, because of shame, because of fear, right? And we tell ourselves before we even know about it, or we project, or we prejudge, whatever. We all do it, right?
Yeah.
And then you had a turnaround, right? You had a moment where like, okay, let's give this a shot, because you kind of came to the end of your rope. The other piece of that, which is interesting, is that is the sort of skepticism toward medication that I think a lot of us do have, and I think a lot of us can empathize with that, and I get it. I wonder for you particularly where that skepticism came from.
I think a lot of it came from not wanting some other substance to be controlling my brain. And it sounds kind of extreme to say it like that, but it was like, I don't really want to be altered in that way. And I also just wanted to figure it out myself, I think. I was like, I want this to work without that. I want a holistic way to do this, because I do think that medication is overprescribed just in general, because the pharmaceutical industry is an industry and, they don't always have our best interests in mind. But I think that's part of my skepticism. But, when the holistic stuff isn't working, it can be a good choice. And it's both, actually.
Yeah, and
it's not just that.
It's both. Yeah.
I want to pop a pill and I'm fine. Like, I need to exercise every day to feel okay. I need to make sure I'm not having too much stress in my life. Like, I still do all the other stuff, and it's still ebbs and flows, of course, but things are just a bit more tamped down, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I only bring it up because I do think, there's a reason this stuff is stigmatized, right?
Yeah.
Because of shame, because of fear, because of all these things, because of the fact, at the end of the day, we need to be our own best advocates and figure out what's right for us, right?
Yeah.
I like to think of, like, I'm on medication. I like to think of my medication as something that helps me be more of me. Mm-hmm. It doesn't change who I am. It just helps me do the things I want to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't take away from who I am. It just helps me be more me.
Yeah. It's your ally.
Exactly. Yeah. It's another potential tool in your tool belt.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you get prescribed a medication, which helps eventually.
Yeah.
Where to next? Like what starts happening for you?
Well, it was kind of cool the way it timed out because I go to this Brazilian music camp here in California. It's called California Brazil Camp, and it's up in Sonoma County in a redwood forest. And I've gone 7 different times, and 6 of those times I made the trip from Minnesota, and I would visit some family here and then go up to that camp. So I think the 3-week mark of being on meds happened in the middle of being at camp. And yes, having no cell service and being in the middle of nowhere in this beautiful place was helpful. But I just remember one morning having a really different feeling, like, okay, I can tell that things are different and I can hear my thoughts now. So it was kind of magical to have that moment that I knew it was working okay coincide with this break from my normal reality on vacation. Well, vacation and intense learning. It's not just like just relaxing all day.
Yeah. That's lovely.
Yeah, it really inspired me. I had been going for a few years in a row at that point, and I have a teacher, his name is Vitor Gonçalves, and he's this phenomenal pianist and accordionist, and he's based in New York. And I just remember that when I first studied with him at this camp, I was like, okay, I can tell that the way he teaches really makes sense with my brain. And I remember getting some tools from him that really just launched me into practicing in a different way and getting really excited. So that's what usually happens when I come back from this camp. So it was like, okay, I have a new lease on life because my brain is a little bit different now, and I feel inspired and excited to make music and learn. And it was so cool because I had done the 100-Day Project. Are you familiar with that? It's like
I am, yeah.
Yeah. So if people don't know, the 100-Day Project is like this global art project where you all do a thing for 100 days, whatever you decide it is. And, you make up your own hashtag and post about it. So I had done 100 days of writing music during the summer of 2017 during this period of anxiety. Like I somehow still did it, which was cool that it was sort of a nice outlet for me. And I liked it so much that once I got back from this camp, I was like, oh, there's about 100 days left in the year. Maybe I'll just do another 100 days on my own. And I did, and it was really fun. And yeah, that period of time was when I really started composing more and more. And then the following year, I received a grant to make my first album and spent a lot of 2018 doing that. So there was a cool rebirth that came out of the low point in 2017 for sure.
And now you're doing, tell me a little bit about the work you're doing now and how your anxiety is today and how it interacts with the work you do and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think it gives me a really compassionate perspective on what other people are going through, because I know how much I needed someone to just say, yeah, you're okay. Even if you feel like you're not okay, you're okay. And I love getting to do that for other people in whatever capacity, a friend, even a random person, or, a coaching client. And yeah, I mean, like any mental health journey, it goes in and out. There are things in your life that make it worse. There are things in your life that take off some of the stress. But I think that doing coaching work has been so rewarding in being able to share that experience, but also just to show up and hold space for other people's experience, whether mental health is involved or not. But oftentimes there's at least an element of that.
That's wonderful. I think that's super cool. And I love this idea of, like, really, truly, we all have the capacity to hold space for people and to meet people where they are, whether it's you as a music teacher, or me as a podcaster, or you listener as a friend, or you as a partner. Like, we all have that capacity.
Yeah. And I think another huge piece of it is that a lot of the behaviors that are rewarded in terms of productivity in our society are kind of like high functioning anxiety. And we don't even know that that's happening. Like the pressure to be productive all the time, for instance, is something that was so instilled in me from going to music school, from being an American, from being self-employed. You know, we get so many messages that reinforce that.
Yeah.
And I just really want to be a part of doing the opposite and validating for people that no, you don't need to work all the time. And if you do, you'll probably run out of energy and you won't be able to do the stuff that's really important to you and have the purpose. And, you know, I don't want to perpetuate that culture of burnout. And that's why I'm here doing what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. There is so much in our world that informs that belief that we do need to just like keep working, and work is somehow some intrinsic value, and working until we're, you know, to the bone, or exhausted, or, you know, I'm going to stay up till midnight and keep working is some sort of value. And it's so what I love about the work that you do, and really the work we can all do, is this capacity for holding space for people, right? For showing up, for meeting people where they are. We all have it. Like you as a music instructor, me as a podcaster, you listener as a friend, like we all have this capacity to show up and to meet people where they are, you know, and it doesn't need to be in this, you know, very scary, vulnerable way, but showing up for people is a vulnerable thing, and it does sort of build this, I think, this like muscle in us to be able to eventually do it for others in a way that may be more vulnerable, or maybe related to mental health or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I think you're so right about it being a muscle. It's something we practice. And talking to other people and showing up for other people maybe seems like something basic that shouldn't require that much work, but it does, just like anything. And that's okay.
It is okay. And I do appreciate your lambasting of hustle culture.
Yes.
And you know, burnout and these things, because we need to talk more about it. It's so ingrained in our systems that we need to just like work forever, that we need to like burn the midnight oil, that work and productivity is some sort of intrinsic value. It's not. Like we need to operate from a place of abundance and less scarcity, more community, less competition, right?
Yes. And that our worth doesn't just come from what we do, which is such a
Yes.
tricky thing for a lot of the people I work with, because if you're a person doing creative work, your work really matters to you. It's part of you. It's part of your identity and part of how you express yourself. So it can be all the more crucial to not separate work from worth entirely, but not, I guess, hold it in a more detached way.
Yeah, I think, well, it's about allowing it to be what it is, and not. Yeah, I think maybe being detached is a way to put it, or maybe just taking a step back and looking at it in a bigger picture, and recognizing that, oh, it's connected to this thing over here, which is maybe contributing to my anxiety, or whatever. Like, it's just taking a step back, I think, a lot of times.
Yeah. Or holding with a looser grip, maybe, is a good metaphor.
Yeah, I like that.
Still holding onto it firmly, but you're not clutching it like with a fist.
Yeah. And, you know, like, it also needs to be said that like there is a certain aspect of hustle culture, or this, you know, yeah, I guess hustle culture is the word for it, that is I don't know, sexist, misogynist, patriarchal,
rooted
you know,
in privilege.
rooted in privilege. It's like all of this stuff like needs to be dismantled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yes. Let's do it. Dismantle it all. So let's talk about the workshop you're going to be doing for Feely Human.
Yeah.
It's called Build Your Personal Self-Care Survival Kit.
Mhm.
It's coming June 19th to Feely Human, which you can sign up at feelyhuman.co.
June 9th.
Did I say June 19th?
You said 19th. It's the 9th.
That was a test and you passed.
Amazing. I'm going to show up on the right day.
Yes, June 9th. Rebecca will be leading this workshop. Tell the listeners a little bit about it.
Yeah. So self-care is one of those topics that people have a lot of feelings about, and that, has a lot of definitions, and it can be a cliche and it can be a commodified thing. But I really see self-care as a really comprehensive thing that you can use in whatever way is good for you at that moment. And that's both freeing and can be a little bit overwhelming, because you're like, well, what do I do to make myself feel better at this moment? So what we're going to do in the workshop is go through a framework of many different types of rest and use that framework to create first a master list of all the self-care actions to just sound good to you. So you have kind of something to pick from. And then we're going to take that and distill it down into a personal menu of self-care based on how long things are. So I take the metaphor all the way. So you have the amuse-bouche, which is like the bite-sized, really short thing to do. You've got your appetizers a little bit longer, your entrees, and then, desserts and specials for those days. You can take a whole day to do something. And I know that's not every day. So that's why we have those different lengths as a go-to, so that something is always accessible, because it really is. We can do small actions and they have a lot bigger impact than we think they will a lot of the time.
I love that. You're right. I think it's very important when we're talking about self-care to be aware of the commodification, like you said, or the sometimes even the sort of like the toxic positivity in it, right? That's wrapped up in it a lot of times. And that's not what we're talking about, listeners. Like the work that Rebecca does and will be leading in this workshop is about honoring your truth and honoring like what truly works and reflects for you and is encompassing of all of the brights and darks that you bring to the table as a Feely Human.
And as an antidote to toxic productivity.
Yes.
Not just because self-care helps you deal with stress, but because self-care can also get lumped in with more to-do list items. I work with a lot of really ambitious people. And then when we start talking about self-care, they're like, well, I know I should be doing this, this, and this. And I think I'm doing it wrong. And it's like, no. I don't want to stress you out further. So there's not a checklist that we're making. It is a menu. And you can choose off the menu what sounds good at the time. There's no need to eat everything on the menu.
And there are no shoulds, right? Like
exactly.
I love that. I love that it's a menu, because there really isn't a there isn't really like you should do this or like you need to do this or it's a box to be checked. It's just take what works and leave what doesn't.
Exactly. Yeah. And having the menu, also the beauty of that is you have different things to try, because today I might want to spend a lot of time on the couch reading, but tomorrow that might not be what does it for me. And that might surprise me a little bit. So instead of searching through everything you've ever heard of, you can be like, all right, I've got this go-to list. I'm going to try something else on this list. And you don't need to overwhelm yourself even like figuring out what to do.
Awesome. Well, yeah. I'm very excited. And listeners, I hope you're very excited. This will be the second, externally led workshop for Feely Human, led by Rebecca. It's called Build Your Personal Self-Care Survival Kit. It's on June 9th and you can register at feelyhuman.co. Very excited about it. I will be there participating, so I hope to see you all there.
Yeah.
Empathy heroes. Let's talk about empathy heroes, Rebecca. The
Yeah.
folks in our lives who are deep, compassionate, empathetic, feely humans. I'll go first to give you a second to think about yours. So I had a couple days ago, I had a Zoom chat with this feely human who is all the way in Brazil. And this person's name is Helga. And she is someone who reached out to me because she was struggling. And I am someone who I'm deeply sensitive. I'm deeply empathetic. Like, I want to set boundaries, right? And I have, because people reach out all the time, and I try to be as empathetic and compassionate as I can, but also honoring my own boundaries and my own energy and time and stuff. But I sensed that she was really struggling, and I said, yeah, like, why not? Let's hop on a Zoom. And we chatted for about an hour, and she was, first of all, just so courageous in reaching out,
Yeah.
and I wanted to honor her here because I think it takes a great deal of courage to ask for help. And it's a reminder to me, and maybe to you listeners, that we can't do it alone. Like, we need each other. And so I wanted to shout out Helga for reaching out, for being vulnerable enough to ask for help and to just connect with someone who may, like me, who may have some shared experience that could, help, or, wisdom or whatever. If you're struggling, ask for help. There are people who will listen, be empathetic, share space, hold space, meet you where you are. And you're worth it. You're worth it. And so is Helga. And that's why she's my empathy hero this week.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I was prepared for this question as a listener to your podcast, and I'm glad about that because it would have taken me a little while to think about it. But my empathy hero is Mara Glatzel. She is someone who does work around needs, and I learned so much from her about how to fulfill needs, how to rest more. She has this great year-long community called Cycle, in which you kind of go with the seasons and revise your personal plan and learn how to tend to your needs in various ways. So her work has been so influential for me in just giving myself the grace to rest and to step back. And I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing now if it hadn't been for learning this stuff from her. So definitely check out her work.
That's wonderful. What's her name again?
Mara Glatzel. I can send you a link later too if you want to.
Yeah, amazing.
Link to it.
Yeah, we'll link to it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Rebecca, where can the listeners? Obviously, you can listeners go to feelyhuman.co. Can't speak. feelyhuman.co to sign up for the self-care workshop that Rebecca will leading. But outside of that, where can folks connect with you?
Yeah. So my website is RebeccaHaas.com. And if you make it there, you can choose your path to the music website or the coaching website. And the coaching website is coachingforcreativewellness.com. I also have a podcast called Being a Whole Person that's all about self-compassionately supporting your creative practice. So you can find that in all the places where podcasts are, I was going to say where podcasts are sold, where podcasts are found. And I hang out on Instagram quite a bit as far as social media goes. I'm Rebecca_Haas. But if you make it to my website, you can find my Instagram too.
Amazing. Well, listeners, all of those links will be in the show notes at feelyhuman.co, which is also where you can sign up for the self-care workshop June 9th. June 9th, you guys. Check it out.
Yeah, we hope to see you there.
Yes, we do.
It's going to be really fun.
Well, thank you for being a part of this, Rebecca. I'm glad we powered through the internet difficulties, and I'm grateful that you're here and doing the work that you're doing.
Thank you. I'm grateful you're doing the work that you're doing, and grateful to be on your podcast.
Amazing. Well, listeners, as I always say, I'm here, you're here, we're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring pale blue dot. We have each other. It's Yumi Empathy.